Hey everybody, welcome to the Together We Thrive podcast. Today is an exciting guest, and this is somebody that I think there's going to be lots of information that people can take away from this and apply themselves, because like we've just been saying off camera before we started recording this, Rob, about how some businesses have really flourished as a result of the COVID situation that we're actually in. And you've done that the same, haven't you, as well? You've really accelerated. You've taken on more staff. You've grown to, do you know what you're running with? 10, is it you said now? 9, 10 people?
Yeah.
So, I mean, before we jump into all that kind of stuff, let's just give everyone that's either watching or listening to this a little bit of a background. So, like, who is Rob?
Okay. So I'm the managing director and founder of Glu Recruit. We're an independent recruitment business based in Rotherham, my hometown, and we service clients across the Sheffield City region of all sizes, all industries, helping them find high quality, high caliber, temporary and permanent staff. And then once they've got them, we work with them on retention strategies so they can hold on to their best people.
Yeah.
That's in a nutshell what we do. Yeah.
Good man. And so, like, why, like, what's different about Glu? Like, what? Because there's obviously lots of recruitment companies out there, and we're going to jump into this a little bit in a while. But I mean, like, why is Glu different to anybody else that's doing this?
Well, it's hard, because when you just do it, it's really hard to answer that. But I think that's probably the thing for us. I've worked in this industry for 15 years. It's a long time. In recruitment, typically burnout is 2 years. If you make it to 5, it's a miracle. So 15, so 15 is why I look like this, John, basically. But I think what makes us different is we're just ourselves. We're just normal. The way I'm speaking to you now is the way I speak to anybody. We're down to earth. That's one of our core values: down to earth, friendly, reliable, committed. If we're in it, we're in it, and we're in it together, and we'll make it work. It's that kind of thing. We're not blaggers. We're not salespeople. We're honest. We're legit. We just genuinely want to do the right thing, and make friends with people, network with people, refer business to each other. So I guess it feels a bit more like I hate it being called a recruitment agency because it's got such a bad stigma attached to it. It feels a bit more like a club, and when people join the club, they tend to stay and get their friends to come and join as well, and that's what
Nice.
Like.
I love it. Let's just to dial back slightly. Then you said that you're not salespeople. Do you know what I mean? Expand on that. I mean, like, do you really believe that you're not salespeople, or do you know, like, I mean, like, what is a salesperson to you?
We are salespeople in the sense that obviously we have to sell. We do new business development all the time to try and get more clients on board. But our approach, we try not to be salesy. Everyone has a different approach, and I'm sure that what works for us won't work for other people. And perhaps we are more salesy than I think we are. I hate someone feeling like they've been sold to by us. I hate it. I hate that feeling, because it's such a thing in our industry that I try everything I can just to kind of call up, make friends, talk about if there's a way that we can help them solve any problems.
Yeah.
If it ever feels salesy, it just makes me die a bit inside.
Of course, I totally get that. Do you think that? Because I suppose the recruitment industry is very much a bit of a boys' club, isn't it? It's got that kind of bro mentality around it, hasn't it? Is that what you think gives it a bit of a bad rep?
I don't know if it is like that. I don't think it's that gives it a bad rep. I think it's a lot of people think in my job that, like, when I started in recruitment, my dad said to me, "Your job must be brilliant, Rob." He said, because you've got people who want a job and you've got people who are hiring, and all you've got to do is match them up. And honestly, that is like 5% of my job, if that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like new business acquisition and selling against the industry, the challenge is the agencies that are high volume, low margin, because it's literally just the numbers game. Can you walk? Can you talk? Have you got a pulse? Can you start on Monday? And they know that if they've booked 20 in to start on Monday, that 5 will probably turn up.
Right.
So we're not that. We're kind of high quality, lower volume, but we'd rather make sure it's thorough and it's good. So I liken us to a bit more of, you'll probably find through this, by the way, that I'm the king of analogies and I'm really cheesy. But, I liken us to the Waitrose or the Marks and Spencer's sandwich. It's going to cost you a couple of quid more, but it's going to taste a load better, and you're going to want it again.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you've got like your pound bakery, it's going to be a cheap sandwich and it's like any other sandwich kind of thing. So I try our best to not be like that. And also in our industry, there's a lot of CV farmers where there's a lack of quality around meeting candidates, understanding candidates, matching candidates. It's literally just throw as many CVs as you can at the wall, and hopefully one of them will stick and you'll get a fee off it. Which I don't think people want. We don't want to do that either. We want to make sure when we're placing someone and we're changing someone's career, it's all for the right reasons.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in our industry, there's a lot of people that don't work like that, and it gives the rest of us a bit of a bad name, and it's tricky to sell against.
Sure. What I mean, like, if that's, is that known within the industry, or is that known across the board? Like, are companies aware that that's what's happening as well, or is it just like an industry inside thing?
I think both. You know,
Yeah.
the number of, like, when I speak to new clients, they tell me that on a daily basis they get on average 15 to 30 calls from recruiters daily. So, you know, you times that by 5, it's a load. So I imagine, well, first of all, like most salespeople, they don't take your call. It's very difficult to get through to them and to demonstrate your difference that early on when you've not even met them.
Yeah.
What we find is that if we can get if we can get the meeting, if we can get one of these type of things, we will 100% win the business, because they'll see the difference. They'll see that we're just normal people. They see we care, we're passionate. The challenge is getting through the door, because everybody is doing old school sales. It's old school email campaign, sales calls.
And it's just
So
horrible.
we try our best.
Yeah, it's just horrible, and I think that's one of the things that I've really been hitting home with people. What I'm training people at the minute is to, you know, come away from that old school boiler room tactic of, you know, 50, 60, 100 dials a day, and trying to build something that's a lot more personalized to that individual, that's relevant to that individual, and finding them in a place that you can really start to build that rapport. And I think that's the issue that people don't want to do, because you've got to put a little bit more like legwork in up at the front end to be able to cut through that noise, because it's so easy. And I think that, like, I'm having this argument, well, not argument, but this debate the other day with somebody, and we were talking about, like, well, John, if you're teaching everybody the same thing, do you know about, stop cold calling people, start making it more personal, reach out to them, build a connection. If you're teaching everybody the same thing, then everyone's going to be doing the same thing, and we're not going to stand out. And I said, yes, in theory that makes sense, but it never does, because if you take the group of people that I'm training, there's probably going to be between 10 to maybe 30% that's actually going to really take on board the stuff that I'm telling them to do, and they're going to get wildly, like, successful results. The next probably 60% plus will do a little bit and see maybe a little tweak, and then the other 10-30% or whatever it is, they'll just do nothing whatsoever, and nothing's going to change. And I think that's, everyone's looking for that shortcut, aren't they? Looking for that easy in, easy connect, easy commission, easy payday. And I think that it's just, I don't know, that's just a weird place to be, isn't it? It's just people.
It feels really old art, and if I'm honest with you, I try and monitor where we get our new business from, our sales from, our new meetings from, and it don't come from that anyway, John. You know what I mean? I could sit here now and do 100 calls.
Yeah.
You know, you can hire people that can do that, but one thing that I don't do here, which I know a lot of recruitment agencies do, and I think causes some of this problem, is I don't KPI our consultants on number of calls, number of CVs you submit, because if you're targeted on that, you're going to do anything. Yeah, exactly. You can do everything you need to do to hit that number.
Yeah.
So we don't go down that route. We're not, you know, you're not targeting how many CVs you submit, how many interviews you arrange. It's more about the quality of the process, the consultativeness of the process, the fills, that kind of thing. And also, I think, coming back to what you just said, you know, if you teach everyone the same, then everyone's doing the same, we're not different. It's unique, because you selling to someone will be different to me selling to someone, and who might buy from you might not buy from me, and vice versa. So we try and be really personable, and I know that's right cheesy, that word, but
it's true. It's true.
It's true.
Yeah. And I think that it's something that no one's really doing. I know it's something that sounds quite cheesy, but hardly anybody's doing it, because, again, everyone's looking for this, this silver bullet. Everyone's looking for the copy and paste technique that they can automate the journey and make it as simple as possible, rather than humanizing everything and being, as you say there, really personal with that person, and it's more enjoyable. Makes it more enjoyable.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Definitely. So like, I mean, let's jump back into it. So it is sales. But you're not considering yourself as a sales person per se. why? I mean, why recruitment then? Firstly, why did you decide to get into recruitment?
I wish I'd have asked myself that 15 years ago.
15 years ago, yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, I worked before recruitment. I worked in banking, and I did it since I left school. So personal loans, mortgages, credit cards, finance, and I never left school like most people thinking I want to do sales. You just fall into it, don't you?
Of course, yeah.
Person. But when I worked at the bank, I was one of the top salespeople, and I never felt it was an effort. It just was just normal to me. So after I'd had enough of sorting everyone else's finances out, I registered with a recruitment agency. And I didn't really know what one did, and that just gave me first insight into those people, help people find jobs. And then I saw a job advertised, which in hindsight was crazy because I was in a permanent job. I saw a job advertised for a maternity cover contract in recruitment within a temp desk. So I applied for it. They didn't get back to me. So me being me, I picked phone up to manager and just said, "Have you had an application?" And she loved that, as you would, as I would do if something like that to me. And then it all stemmed from there. So I started off working for Office Angels, big national corporate agency, ran a temps desk for them, one of their busiest temps desk in country. Then I got my own branch in Nottingham. I was young, single, tie-free at the time. So I moved over there, got a flat in city centre, ran Nottingham branch, and then it all just progressed from there, really. I miss Rotherham, as you always do, it pulls you back.
Yeah. Good, man. Good. So, I mean, in terms of that, then, was the places that you were working for, like, were they that bad that you thought, actually, I want to make this better? Or was it? I mean, what was the kind of transition from you doing it for somebody else to thinking, actually, I want to make this a bit more personal. I want to improve it. I want to change what happened?
I think you see things, don't you? When you've worked in industry for a long time, you see the good and the bad and the ugly. And I think so, especially when I worked for Office Angels, which I love, by the way, and it was a brilliant footing. Towards the end, some of the whole corporate stuff I felt was preventing sometimes doing the right thing or doing the creative thing or the modern thing. It was just because if we change that, we have to change that for the entire branch network. Yeah. So we can't do it. Whereas you think, LinkedIn was emerging, Twitter was emerging. We need to be on those platforms and stuff like that. So I think it was just taking the good bits from what I'd learned elsewhere and understanding the bits that didn't work, not only for us internally, but for clients and candidates externally. And then thinking, actually, I could fix that. If I had the chance to do it on my own, I could fix them things and, take the good bits, but also make the bad bits much, much better.
Yeah.
When we first set up, I wanted it to feel really like personable, down to earth. So the whole branding's cartoony, a bit of a nod to Pete McKee, who's one of my favourite artists. And it's got a lot of local colloquialisms in, a bit like, "Hey up now then," that kind of stuff. And people love it because it just feels a bit like you're in your living room having a cup of tea with someone, and that's how I want it to feel when you're dealing with us.
Good.
I suppose that's it in summary, really.
What did you consider, like, when you was trying to go down that a bit cartoony, a bit Pete McKee, a bit, A up now and then, all that kind of stuff? Did you ever worry that you might lose the professionalism by going down that route? I mean, like, what was going on in your head? Did you worry about it, or did you just think, no, that's what I believe in, that's what I'm going to do?
That 100%. And to be honest, another thing about our industry, not across the board, a big chunk is, the whole corporate stock images of like two people shaking hands with a briefcase in their hand. It literally makes me want to be sick. And I think a lot of people, it's old school, it's tired, it's all that. Yeah. Again, in terms of like a fresh branding, a fresh approach, I wanted it to stand out. When all of our business cards have got the caricatures on, so when you give someone one, it's almost like they're collecting like cards, like you used to do when you were a kid, because they want everyone's different caricature. When you go to a networking event, the branding really pops out, and the number of people that say to me, "Oh, I love your caricatures," or they recognise the branding. So yeah, I weren't really fearful, because if a company wanted that corporate that I think's old school, we probably aren't for them. We've got to go after the people that are right for us and we're right for them.
Definitely, that makes total sense. What's changed, Rob? Like, so in 15 years that you've been in there, has the industry changed? Is it the same? Are they holding on to the old school, old style ways, or like what's changing in that space?
Loads, really. I mean, on a year-to-year basis, forgetting this year for a moment, it flips from being an employer-led market to a candidate-led market, and that's challenging. Because obviously we have to do a lot of work with employers around if it's a candidate-led market and they've got 2 or 3 opportunities, we have to work with the employer on really interviewing well and selling yours to make sure you get that candidate across the finish line. And sometimes that can be tricky because there can be a perception of the candidate should want this job.
Yeah.
So it changes all the time. I mean, LinkedIn has become huge. LinkedIn is basically a job board for recruiters.
Yeah.
You know, so what I find is even if people are in a job, they're still open to hearing about other things which might be a better job for them.
Yeah.
We're constantly talking to the active job seekers who are genuinely looking. And we're also talking to the passive job seekers around, you know, you might be happy where you are, but what would it take to turn your head?
Yeah.
Candidates are hard come by. You know, there's a perception that there's loads of people looking for work and they should be lucky to work here and have a job. But, you know, real good candidates, the real stars that you want, are really, really hard to find. And they're hard to move, you know, because if they're that good, their employer, where they're working now, is going to counter offer them. So we have to manage that process. If they're that good, there'll be 2 or 3 other people that want them, so it can be a competitive process.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year, loads has changed. Things like this that we're doing, interviews have finished with Zoom. We've had for the first time this year a company not only interview, but offer a job to someone on Zoom who they've never physically met. And they've started working remotely, so it's been a year of change, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this year's a bit of a write-off in one respect, but it's a fresh start in another, isn't it, as well, which is just fascinating as well. I mean, like in terms of LinkedIn, I mean, LinkedIn's a massively, I think it's really underestimated how powerful it is, and I think a lot of people aren't really jumping into that space. Nowhere near, and I say aggressive, I don't mean aggressive in like an aggressive way, I mean, you know, a tactical way, you know, jumping into that space strong enough. I mean, that's one of the things that there's a tool that I use, absolutely wonderful as well, called Crystal Knows, KNOWS. And are you familiar with DISC assessments? Yeah. So basically what Crystal does is it's like a Google Chrome extension that sits over top of LinkedIn, and what it's doing is it's running a DISC assessment on the person that you're looking at, and it'll come back based on the information that they've used, the articles that they've wrote, all the stuff that they've shared, and it'll tell you what DISC type they are, whether they're a D, you know, like whatever they fall into. But it also tells you what language to use to speak to them. So, you know, rather than saying like hi or hello, say hey, or just use the name. Don't sign off this way, sign off this way. If you have a meeting with them, make it sharp, make it this, don't butter it up with all this kind of stuff. And so as a tool for you to be able to connect, it's so powerful for you to be able to understand the language that the person wants to be communicated with. Because I think it's very easy for us to fall into what I call inside language. You know all the buzzwords and all the sexy words that's relevant to your industry, but they may not. And I think it's very easy for us to fall into that trap. But LinkedIn, I mean, like, do you find that it's good for both candidates and vendors, or do you know?
100%. So interestingly, 80% of our new clients, as in companies that use our recruitment service, come from a LinkedIn sale rather than
really?
Yeah.
Really? And so what are you doing to kind of win that business then? How do you do that?
I think, you know, like you've just said, there's you know, like the usual emails that you get, like, you know, dear John, hope you're keeping well. They don't give a shit if you're well. No. So we just talk to people on a normal level, and we don't waffle, and we kind of get to the point of the reason that we're wanting to talk to those people. Yeah. And it might not be for now, you know, we're not saying we want to recruit for you now, it's just more making you aware of our services for the future, and then we make sure that's kind of backed up by a follow-up plan. But yeah, for candidates and clients, it's amazing for both, you know. And we don't actually, a lot of people say, do you use the paid for version? We don't. We all use the free version, and we still manage to get the results from it that we need.
Of course. No, it's powerful. And I think that like you've just said then, that kind of stuff, what I do, what works really well for me, and what I like to show other people to do is, if I go to your profile and I'll look at an article that you've written, or something that's interesting to you, and I'll go and build some personalization around that. Now, I'm not going to hard cut that with, you know, hey, Rob, I see that you're into, you know, Aston Villa. Like, football's great. By the way, buy my product. You know, there's no connect, there's no hook. But if you're talking about something that's really relevant to the industry and how I can help you, then a great way for me to get your attention is by talking about something that obviously you're interested in.
Yeah.
So, my opening, hi Rob, the reason I'm messaging you, I've just read your article, 10 ways to, I don't know, keep your staff motivated. By the way, I really like number 3, which talks about, daily meditation. Actually, it's one of the things that I think is really, really big. And one of the things that I help people do is, get focused and aligned through meditation as well. I don't know if you're open to an idea, but I'd love to jump on a call with you sometime in the future to maybe have a chat about that,
Yeah.
And so again, it's not salesy. It's very, very personal, but it's got a lot of relevance behind it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
100% agree with you, 100%. Because there's some value in there. It's someone who's read what you've put out there, they've listened to what you've said, and
yeah,
there's mutual value for both parties. And as long as you can position that right, why would you not?
exactly, exactly. And I think that's the word there, isn't it? Position it right, because there's so many that try to do the kind of fake personalization, but then there's no hook, there's no connection, there's certainly no relevance there. It's like,
Mm.
hey John, I see that you went to this school or this college or this university. And it's like, okay, yeah, and what?
Yeah, where you going with this one? Yeah.
Yeah, and what? Yeah, I didn't go there like that. That mate, you're talking 25 years ago. Do you know, like, I don't give a shit about that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So no, that's really interesting. I remember a conversation that we had, Rob, a while back, and you were talking about somebody. I think it was somebody that had come to work for you, or certainly somebody that that's in the industry. And they were saying, Rob, this has got to be one of the hardest ways to make money. Why the hell are we doing this? Like, tell me a little bit about that. I mean, why is it so hard, do you think?
Um, it's one of them. Honestly, it's one of them jobs that's really, really hard to explain, even to you or there are for anybody, because they think they understand, but unless you've worked in it, it's such a unique industry. It's incredibly fast paced. There's not enough hours in the day. Most recruiters are working from 7:30 till 6 o'clock every day, Monday to Friday, as a minimum, really, because you've got to be working before and after work to get all your candidates, because the good ones are normally in work, so they're harder to get hold of. I read something once, you might have seen it actually on social media, which said being a recruiter is like being a Windows device with 10,000 tabs open at once, and that's exactly right, because you can't. It's like having all these plates spinning where you think, "Oh, I need to speak to him about that job. Oh, he's
Yeah,
not good for that job, but he could be good for that one." But everybody wants fills now, 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 now. So
yeah,
to manage expectations, hell of a lot of work to manage, and actually, what we do is we haven't got a product to sell. We're just selling a service and we're selling a person. So we could do all the right things. We could be the best recruiter ever. But if that person lets us down, it reflects on us, which is tricky.
of course.
Um, and I think we work for free. We work on if we don't place your vacancy, we don't charge you anything. So,
Yeah,
and the reason for that is we want to be motivated to make sure that we do fill it. But we could bear the cost of advertising, bear the cost of all the overheads, the salaries. We could find a great candidate, but someone just approaches directly who is as good, and they take them instead, and we make nothing from it.
yeah.
So that's what's unique about it. You can sometimes work for nothing for a period of time and get no results from it.
No results from it. How are you tracking all this? Do you use have you got a CRM system that you're using?
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
a CRM that we use. Yeah,
What do you use? What works for you?
it's a recruitment specific one that we use called Chameleon Eye, and that's where we all of our client and candidate information. We log all our CVs, we arrange all our interviews,
Got
we
ya.
can our data from. But to be honest, we have a bit of an old school whiteboard system as well, where we talk about the jobs we're working on, the candidates we're working on, hot candidates that we're trying to get out for interview, what stuff's at decision, what stuff we're chasing interviews for. And we have regular morning updates around all that stuff, so
Yeah.
that everyone, because we're probably working on at the minute 50 odd jobs.
Right.
So we have to pull to surface what the absolute priority stuff is and split that work out, and that's what these morning meetings are for.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Do you think that, like, in your industry, is everybody else doing that the same way, or is this one of the things that maybe makes you stand a little bit taller than everybody else in the fact that you really care?
Yeah, 100%. I think when we did our values, we asked our clients, the people who basically are friends with us, who come back to us time and time again, that won't go anywhere else because we've built that relationship. We asked them about what they thought our core values would be. And the kind of things that came out are like care, committed, distinct, reliable, honest.
Yeah.
So I think they're the things that we do well. A lot of people say they do them, but I think we do them really well.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think that care is so I mean, it's one of the things that I bang on about all the time is, you can give me anybody that you want, introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, bloody aliens, like whatever you want to give, and you can teach them all the right tools, the right pattern, the right phrases, the right systems. And the thing that's always gonna get in their way is if they don't care. If they don't have a genuine care to help that client win, that I find is the final piece of juice, the puzzle to fixing the jigsaw.
I agree. And do you know what? I wouldn't employ someone that didn't. So when I interview for us, I'm a big believer in gut instinct, and I know what it takes to be successful. And to be honest, if I look at my best people here, my top performers did not come from recruitment and didn't come from sales.
Right.
I recruit people based on attitude and that stuff that you just mentioned. The rest you can train.
Yeah.
So I think for one of my weaknesses, whether you see this as a weakness or not, is that I worry too much. And if I've committed to do something, if I've spoke to a client and I've told them that we're a great agency, we'll find the best person, I will worry until we've delivered and prove that.
Yeah.
So the care thing for us is just absolute top
level. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I think that you probably worry about that more than anybody else as well, because the fact that it is so top level for you.
Yeah.
Last couple of things, Rob. So like sales versus marketing, like what's most important for you? Do you think that sales is more important, or is marketing more important? Or because it's coming together. You've got all this sales enablement bullshit that everyone's trying to peddle right now as well, and social selling, and there's all this hybrid world of stuff that's going on right now. But I think there still is, like, they do work together really, really well, but I think there still is a very, very clear line between when marketing stops and selling starts. Like, what's your kind of take on all this?
I mean, again, I might not be the best person to answer this, but the whole email spam, that's, again, it's very old school. It's been done to death, and it's just throw some mud at wall and hope it sticks in it. So I always think a sales strategy underpinned with clever marketing for the clients in that sales strategy should work really well combined together on a repeat and frequent basis, but not to a point where you're pissing people off.
Yeah.
So we try and be very careful to tailor the things that we do. So, we're not the kind of business that will ring on a Monday and ring again on a Wednesday. You probably say, but I get sales calls all the time, and they'll ring me at 9:00 and the same number's ringing again at 10. And you just think, I don't even want to talk to you. I don't even know what you're selling, but I don't even want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So we try and vary our sales tactics. So it includes some sales, it includes some LinkedIn. Sometimes we just turn up with some buns or some donuts, Sometimes we might go out with a candidate's CV and talk to the client about that candidate. So we try and vary it. We always make sure it's underpinned by value add marketing. So it might be, if we notice that a company's recruiting, you can't assume that they know the right things to ask at interview. So we might underpin some marketing to those people of, look, we're not recruiting for you, but we've noticed that you're recruiting. Here's some great questions to ask at interview. Try and be really clever around stuff like that. It's hard to measure results from. I don't know if you find the same. It's hard to measure results from marketing, I find.
I think that yes, I agree, but I disagree if it's done right. And I think that's the problem, is that no one's doing it right. Everyone, like you just said, they're trying to throw enough shit at the wall, hoping something's going to stick, and they're just purely doing activity, hoping that activity is going to lead to an outcome. Whereas, like, what I've always tried to get people to think about is, let's reverse engineer that. Like, what's the outcome? What's the key wins that you need to get? And that'll tell you what activity you need to do. And I think that when you can reverse engineer it that way, and build a strategy that says, right, so this is the outcome. We know to get this outcome, this needs to happen. And for this to happen, this tells us what we need to do, the activity levels. And I think that when you can start to do it like that, then you've got a very clear path that you can maybe KPI, you can maybe measure, you can maybe start to track, and you can start to see how the ROI starts to look on that side of stuff. But it's difficult when you are in a fast-paced environment, and you're trying to be innovative, and you're chucking all this different stuff, and the plates are all spinning 100 miles an hour, to be able to stand back and look and say, actually, maybe we should maybe we should have a go at this. Maybe we should try this because like I'm seeing good results from this from somewhere else. And it's the whole coaching stop, start, continue. Is this something that we're doing right now that's not working and we need to stop? Is it something that, that we've been talking about, looking at for a while, and we've not actually got started on just yet, so we need to start it? Or is it something that just works? Because if it's working, like, don't change it, just continue doing it. And I think there's a lot of self coaching that people can do to be able to start to identify that as well, which again, people just aren't doing because they're not living in the present moment. They just go, 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 go all the time.
That sounds like me, 100%. I think we've got a marketing strategy. You know, we do regular email marketing, we do regular social marketing, we do some paid marketing. But I just find it difficult to monitor the results that come from it. We tend to find that the new clients that come on, they've all seen it, they've seen the social stuff, they've seen the email stuff, and that's just reinforced the brand and it's enabled us to have that conversation. But it's very, very rare in my industry that someone will be marketed to and they'll go, oh, thanks for
by the way,
the job. Yeah, it doesn't work like that in our industry.
No. I don't think it works like that in many industries, to be fair. I think it is a collective. It reminds me of the film. Do you know the Will Smith film that he did with that Margot Robbie called Focus?
I've not seen it.
So it's a good film. It's not. I mean, it's probably not one of his best ones, but it's a really good one. And the kind of hook of it is that they're con artists. And they've just I don't know how they've got it, I can't remember, but they've got £1 million and they go to like a Super Bowl game type game, and they're in one of the executive suites. And so he starts betting with one of the kind of rich guys in the suite, and they start off on little small bets saying, I bet number 47 gets to the touchline before number 42 does, and he loses. And then he bets a bit more money and he loses again. And it's like, I bet he scores the next touchdown. And so throughout the duration of this afternoon or day, whatever it is, he's lost the entire £1 million. And so as he's leaving, his girlfriend is kicking his ass. He's in bother. And as he's leaving, he does the good old Columbo. He just pops his head back through the door and just says one more thing. He's like, 00 quits. And he's like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, let's do it. It's just money. And he says to me, I want you to get the binoculars, look at the entire stadium, players included, and pick anybody in the audience that you want. And my missus will pick the same person. And he's like, seriously? Anyone? He's like, anyone that you want. So he gets the glasses, the binoculars, and he's looking all around the stadium. And he looks right down at the front. He sees a guy with number 52 on his back in the audience, quite a big guy. And he says, right, I've got him. Do you want me to write it down? He says, no, I trust you. Just let's go with it. So he passes the binoculars to his girlfriend. She looks around the stadium like this, looks all around, sees the same guy up at the front with 52 on his jersey on the back, and says, it's the guy down at the front with 52. And the rich guy's just like, whoa, what the hell's just happened? Like, how on earth is that even possible? 20, 30, 40,000 people in the stadium. And what's happened is it shows you what's happened prior to them getting to the stadium. So the guy that when he arrived in the airport, the private limousine that picked him up had 52 on the number plate. When he got inside it, the radio station were channel 52. The song that we're playing, we're talking about numbers 52. The hotel room that he got to was room 52. His chandelier had 52s in it, and what they've done is they've pre-programmed him so that when he looked, the only thing he could see was number 52. And I think that's very similar to what we do in terms of the outreach that we're doing. Is that email campaign on its own is a version of a number 52. That connection request on LinkedIn is a number 52. That personalized outreach message, 52. And that drop in, that call, that tip, that value added is 52, so that when they're ready to pick that number, i.e. your services, all they see is Glu Recruit and Rob.
Yeah. It's good analogy that. I need to watch that film. It sounds good.
This is a good film, actually.
There's a Jim Carrey. I don't know if you've seen the Jim Carrey film. It's a bit of again, not the best Jim Carrey film. He actually plays a serious person in this one, and it's called Number 13. Have you ever seen that before?
Yes, I have. Yes. That's good.
Because he becomes obsessed by numbers, and he becomes obsessed by that number 13, and again, he just sees it everywhere. And it just multiplies, and he starts seeing all different numbers, and everything becomes numbers. So I agree with you. I know what you mean. I know it's right as well. It is right. It's the same for us, isn't it? It's like remarketing on Facebook. You can go on, I don't know, ASOS or something. You can put something in your basket and not buy it, and then suddenly on your Facebook feed, it's like, oh, what about this? What about this? You thinking, how you know you got that?
No, because tracking you and following you around everywhere you go. No, definitely so. Rob, what what's next for you guys then? So do you know, I'll tell you why I said that is I remember when we bumped into each other, because we've not seen each other for a few years, and then we bumped into each other probably 4 or 5 years ago, didn't we, over in Doncaster? And I think at the time there was just you, or maybe just one, maybe you plus one. And I remember the conversation as clear as day. And we talked about this actually recently, didn't we? I remember the conversation clear as day. Rob saying to me, John, I want to keep a little boutique little agency. I ain't going big. I don't want to like take it to that degree. And the next thing, Rob's like, he sat there with 10 staff under his belt, you know, like, and that's fascinating. But what's next? What's the next thing that's going to come? Are you going to consolidate the 10? Are you going to keep on growing? Like, what's going to happen there?
Well, we're currently looking for 2 more, so that's going to be cool. I think for me, I said to you before, again, I don't mind sharing my weaknesses. One of my weaknesses is I'm not a very good forward planner. I'm very, very good common sense, and I'm very good with gut instinct, knowing, for example, if we want to deliver this high caliber service, we've got a core set of clients that we can do that to now really well. If that core set of clients increases, the only way of continuing to deliver that same level of service is to get more people in delivering the same. So I've always, that's how we've grown really. So when I run my own at garage, as you know, I set up in my own garage with an IKEA desk and a laptop on a phone, did that for 9 months until one day I was sat with job specs all around me thinking, shit, I can't be this guy to all these people. So at that point, bring the next one in. And we've always kind of organically gone like that. And that's where we are now. So I think through what's just happened this year, a lot of recruitment agencies took their foot off the gas.
Right.
They consolidated, they protected the money in the bank, they stopped selling, which probably in some ways was the safest thing to do. But I saw that as an opportunity to kind of fight through. So that's why I thought, no, I'm doing the opposite. I'm going to appropriately sell. I'm going to make sure that all these candidates that have been affected, we understand and we speak to, so that we can be the best agencies trying to find something. We've picked up 4 new staff actually during the last 9 months, because when we do come out of it, which I feel like we will do, and we're getting close now. Yeah. I want to have an army set up and ready, whereas others are going to be a bit more on the back foot. That's always been the strategy. So the future for me, I always look to end of my nose, and that's where I am now. And at the moment, it's 2 more people. And then my plan will be, as long as them 2 people come in and value add, we can start putting some structure and divisionalize things and things like that. Personally, I'd like to be less in the business and more on the business, but we're just not there yet. And I'm stupidly addicted to it, so I just carry on.
What needs to change for you to be able to be in that position then? Like for you to be able to spend more time on it than in it, what's the kind of, what needs to happen?
Well, we've spoken about this before, haven't we? Part of it is me just letting go. That's the big issue for me. But I've got a team that are great, and I trust that I've the top performers, and it's just recruiting, training, developing, and getting to a point where you think, we're good now, and taking a step back. I already have dropped to Friday where I can, so I'm working 4 days rather than 5. I probably, John, could do a lot less in it now, but
you enjoy it.
I love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it, and I'd miss it, so.
Yeah, good man, good. One of the new things that I'm going to do when I'm signing off on the podcast is, and I think this is one of the things I mentioned to you when we first spoke about this, is that like 9 to 5, Rob's is a badass MD, building businesses, serving businesses incredibly well, recruiting, doing all the stuff that you do all the time. What we often don't see with businesses though is who is Rob 5 to 9. So 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. like what's Rob's world all about there? Like what happens? Are you your dad? Like what's the story?
So I mean, typically I get home at the earliest at 6 o'clock because recruitment's really long hours. I've got 2 young kids. My little boy's 10 now, and the little girl is 7. I know it's been fast, hasn't it?
My word.
So I tend to get home, have tea, do their bath, and then before you know it, after we've played a game or watched a bit of TV or a film, you're in bed doing bedtime stories. And generally, I've always been the same, even when I was a kid. I'm an early to bed, early to rise man. I'd be brilliant, me, on an early shift that finished at 2 o'clock. I could happily get up at 4 in the morning and finish at 2. Right. So I tend to kind of read kids' story, go to bed with a cup of tea, and then nod off, and then boom, I'm up again at 6, and it all starts again.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. What kind of like hobbies are you into? Like, what's the kind of passions outside of the business?
I love music. So obviously, music concerts. I normally go to 3 or 4 a year. I'm always on top of Spotify, and especially when the people who I like are releasing new music, I like to listen to that on a Friday.
Yeah.
I love walking, go out on a lot of walks, and I really find that helps clear my head. And sometimes if you're stressed, or if you're looking for an answer to something, a problem, or you're thinking about growing, like we spoke about, I just find that so good.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot more walking recently. I've got 3 dogs. I've got a miniature Dachshund and 2 pugs, and my kids. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if everyone else finds the same. I have no time because my time is constantly full. So that walk for me is like an hour of just me time. Or when the kids have gone to bed, if I can keep my eyes awake, I might read a book, or I might just be flicking through some social or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still addicted to Glue Recruit at that time, so I'm constantly looking.
Wicked. So the key takeaways then, Rob, just to recap what we've talked about, you're saying, personalization definitely works for you guys. LinkedIn's absolutely the place to be. Like email campaigns work, but only if it's got value driven, it's value added marketing, that kind of stuff, not just the mass spam throw at the wall kind of stuff. And actually give a shit,
Care and just be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. Just be yourself. And if people don't want that, then go find another customer.
Go find it. Yeah. How easy is that for you to come to terms with? A, being yourself, B, being rejected for being yourself, and C, just moving on to the next. Is that something that you've had to develop over time, or is that natural to you?
I feel like I've just always been like that. And to be honest, I think in this business has been trading for 4 years. In the 4 years, we've only turned down 2 customers on the basis of we're just not right for each other, or we think we want to place candidates in jobs where they're going to stay, and I don't think you're going to look after them, so we're going to say no. I've not really. I think, to be honest, it just happens. I think it's harder when you're smaller. So if I was on my own in the garage for them first 9 months, it would be a lot harder to turn business away because you're trying to grow it and develop it, aren't you? But I feel like we've got to a point now where we can be more selective around who we work with. But like I say, it don't cause much of an issue. It's one of them. I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to do a good job. I'm going to be nice, be kind, be smart. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, that's fair enough. I tried.
That's a good strategy. That's it. I like it. It's a good strategy, Rob. Good strategy. Where can people find out more, Rob? If they need some services from you, or they want to find out a little bit more, have a little nosy around, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, they can check out our website, glurecruit.co.uk. They can give us a bell on our office number 0114 3211 873, or LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We're really active over all our social channels. Or jump on one of these Zoom calls, pop in for a brew, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely awesome, Rob. That's been brilliant. I think there's loads of insights in there for people to definitely take away. I think that the key thing that I want to say to people who's watching this or listening to this is that there's some stuff that we've talked about right there that you're probably thinking, wow, actually, why have I not even thought about that myself? So what I really want to encourage you to do is actually take that information and use it, because I think that it's so easy for us to consume information, especially in the world that we live in right now. But if we don't do anything with that information, it's the same as not knowing about it in the first place. So, knowledge is not power, it's potential power. You've got to execute on that as well. So the real message that I want to leave this on is the stuff that we've talked about, the advice that Rob's given you, the things that we've discussed today, go and put it into action. And once again, Rob, thanks so much. That's been fantastic.
My pleasure.
Here's to the next two staff members joining Glue.
Fingers crossed.
Cheers, Rob. Cheers, mate.